Election Day is Tuesday, November 5th. Now is the time to make a plan. Whether you plan to vote absentee by mail, in person at your county auditor's office before Election Day, or at your polling place on November 5th, it's important you take steps now to make your plan at voterready.iowa.gov. Remember, Election Day is Tuesday, November 5th. Find more info at voterready.iowa.gov. This message is presented by the Iowa Secretary of State.
This is Jordan Grace, and you're listening to the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
BWB, this is One Nation Radio. You better get it right. Rich Latta, James Boyd came to give them life. The Blackest Wrestling Podcast has come to kick all ass and drop it 6 feet if they're kicking trash. Word, let me welcome y'all to something different. And if you dig it, man, you should let some friends listen. We be getting it in, this on the regular, dude. Ravish and flow, but this shit rule. See, James don't rap, so I had to break it down. The whole network, man, we coming for the crown. Raps in the columns, I keep them both covered. Making the beats too, so the listeners can bump it. Hit us with the rating, yeah, I'm saying it's a 5. Before you hit it, talk, bob your head side to side. It's One Nation Radio, and this is the beginning. It's Rich, and I'm here with James. It's time to listen to One Nation.
You got to unleash the power of the pyramid.
This is Mike Sempervive from WrestlingObserver.com. Check me out on Wrestling Observer Live every day. And also check out your boys, Rich and James, on One Nation Radio.
This is Kenny Omega. We're listening to One Nation Radio. Check it out, guys. These guys know what's up. Big Kenny Omega fans, and that's all that counts to me. Goodbye and good night. Bang.
Alrighty, welcome to October 14th edition of One Nation Radio. I am your host, Rich Latta. Solo this week, no James, but we have had a lot of things happen in pro wrestling. First, it was a long week. James actually was up here with me the past week, and light of Hurricane Helene, he did make it back home yesterday, but he has a lot going on with assessing the whole situation, and he's had a wild day, so I let him know I would hold everything down this evening and still talk to you guys and give you guys a good show here. The hurricane left a lot of people with a lot of different challenges. That hurricane hit an area of the country that is not used to getting, hurricanes. I know people think of Florida and automatically like, how are you not ready for hurricanes? But the Tampa Bay area has been unusually lucky in light of many of the hurricanes that hit Florida. They never really go to that region. If they do, it ends up as like a tropical depression or a tropical storm, category 1 at most. But this one, I believe, hit landfall, maybe a category 3 or even a 4 in some areas. I saw a lot of the footage with Tropicana Field, the roof getting ripped off, which is just insane. In my estimation, there was tons of storm surge. There were entire apartment complexes, people I know in real life that had to get rescued from those flooded areas. My mom actually is down in that town, but she was fortunate to be in a non-flood zone. So just if you know somebody that was in the Tampa Bay area, just reach out to them. I would recommend just see how they're holding up, because there's it's something a lot of people are not used to. And when you're in Florida, a lot of times you have the tendency to think about hurricanes as whatever, that you live with them, you take nothing serious, and then a real one comes, and it's kind of an adjustment, and you go through a lot of wide-ranging emotions, dealing with that. And I know there are people listening to this show that have gone through hurricanes and stuff like that. And you never really, it never really no matter how much you prepare, it's either you're there or you're not, and you don't know how bad it's going to be. So, it changes all the time. So, Mother Nature, what can you do? But we're gonna pull it back to pro wrestling as much as possible here. We've got a lot to talk about here today, and man, first, I guess I'll drop the announcement. I did an appearance on the Trish and Sarah podcast. I believe they will be announcing that soon. If not, it'll hit your feeds Tuesday morning. We recorded that yesterday, and that was a really fun time. And shouts out to Trish and Sarah for kicking it with me for a couple hours, and I hope you guys look forward to that. As I mentioned on the stream, we got the new tees that are up on choptees.com/social suplex. You can find us right on the site. I'm wearing the Navy Dream Team hoodie right here. Very comfortable, very chic, very fit. And you got to get your hands on it. So make sure you also visit onelifetimeworldwide.com. You can get more One Nation Radio traditional designs there as well, along with the hats as well. I got the hat behind me. My favorite one is the orange one right here. So I know somebody will think I'm colorblind, which I do have red-green colorblind deficiency. I'm well aware. I'm wearing an orange hat and there's red on here. I'm under no misforgivings about that. So just gonna turn it around, get a little comfortable here. I got a test next week for my yellow belt in Taekwondo, so that's going to be fun. I've been prepping all month. I was going hard, turning up the intensity today in class, and I'm ready to go. It's gonna be fun, and just gonna keep working and doing my thing. So. But yeah, man, let's get to it, man. The AEW television deal, man. After much indifference from One Nation Radio, because we all knew that this was essentially in the bag with the rating success, the number one on Wednesday nights, the hours upon hours given from WBD into AEW with additional programming like Rampage or Battle of the Belts, Collision, and Dynamite being as strong as it's been. This was no real shock. The only question was the number. I figured, there was a substantial raise due to, the success that happened with it. So, basically the financial terms were not disclosed, but according to sources, the deal is valued at $185 million a year when all elements are taken into account. Under that new deal, Dynamite and Collision will remain on TBS and TNT respectively. But for the first time since its launch in 2019, AEW programming will stream live on Max simultaneously for U.S. subscribers and will be available to stream on demand starting in January 2025. We are honored to announce the extension of our incredible partnership with Warner Brothers Discovery, said Tony Khan. This extension continues the tradition of iconic wrestling events broadcasts on TBS and TNT while establishing a new legacy for AEW through weekly live streams on Max for years to come. He goes on to thank Zaslav and Kathleen Finch and various other executives for their support of AEW. And basically this includes enhanced distribution rights across social media, as well as potential new programming on linear and digital platforms. Also, the pay-per-views will be available on Max later in 2025 at a discounted price per event, blah, blah, blah. And, in the Variety press release, they put over AEW a little bit, and they talk, touted the success as Wednesday's number one cable entertainment series among adults from 18 to 49. So thinking about it, man, I can't wait to watch some of the old stuff that goes up there. I have Max, so this is good news for me. But I just got a couple questions for the non-believers, the various suckers, lames, grifters, people that believed the foolishness that was coming out of these people's mouths, that were believing the lies, the deception, and they built entire internet personalities around this. They built entire Twitter profiles around this. They paid Elon Musk to do this, something I recommend nobody, and I mean nobody ever do, is give your money to Elon Musk. That's what they were doing, to come out here and believe in the lie, the great big lie. Like I can, Brewhaven in the comments saying, imagine paying Elon Musk. Who would do such a thing? So, those people that, they need their verified checks for various reasons, but these people basically got conned by giving their financial information to Elon Musk, and then used it to come out here and basically, it's hard to even explain exactly what they were doing, because they were clearly they're either not smart enough to understand they were being lied to, or they actually do know they're being lied to, and they are so consumed with hatred for this thing they wish didn't exist, they said, fuck it. We're believing the lie anyway. We will fight on that lie like it's The Wire. I really don't know what's worse. I went on a bookmark spree, the likes of none other. I think this was the big one that I was waiting for. James and I have discussed on this show. The big raise is coming. And at this point, there's nothing left to do. As far the case is closed, the history books should be getting updated right now. AEW is the most successful company in this country, not named WWE. WCW, get in the bin. TNA, don't make me laugh. ECW, they still owe people money. Ring of Honor, y'all already know how I feel about that. Come on, man. But there's only one other shoe left to drop, and it's not a good one for people that have not been happy to see this news, is if Fox, Big Fox that is, decides to get in the AEW game after spending so much money on SmackDown and not really getting the return on their investment they were looking for, given that platform and still wanting to be in a wrestling game, to AEW for something like the long-rumored Shockwave. That would be really an incredible change of circumstances. WWE was able to get NXT on its CW for a reduced kind of rate, especially compared to AEW. And I've seen a lot of people, say, well, they're paying, this low value for NXT, and then AEW was able to get these numbers with, their numbers not, as high as they once have been. But I kind of look at it like this, NXT is the third thing. That's about as big as they can make it. AEW is an entire promotion, so they can add more shows. They can add, they can split their package a couple different ways. They're not going to come up with another NXT show to sell to somebody. They'll play Level Up on Peacock and stuff like that, but NXT is never going to rise above what it is. It's never going to overtake Raw or SmackDown in their eyes. So that's not really something if I'm a network, I'm all right, I think I'd rather invest even more in an entire company with the potential that has already shown 5 years of excellent ratings and stuff like that. And NXT has been a lot more volatile. They've caught a wave of late, but you gotta time these things up the correct way. As far as the TV deal, these people were just broken in half, man. It was sad to see that they just were crashing out this badly on the timeline, and they were listening to the likes of Eric Bischoff. They were listening to they were letting some of the Brandon Thurston stuff scare them, and I think Brandon does a great job, but I think sometimes his work gets used for evil. You look at you look at seeing the people that perpetuated a lot of this stuff, they have to use deception, they have to use out of touch data, they have to use really just hatred in their soul for anything not named WWE to really analyze this stuff. So I think this should have been a lesson to a lot of people, and it won't be. People won't learn because they're not smart. That you can see kind of the writing was on the wall. All the extra, television time that was being doled out, all the overruns, all the non-commercial breaks, all this stuff. This is like where you can tell a company is happy with the performance, the pay-per-view business. And, you can look at weak parts of AEW's business right now with the attendance. That's something they've struggled with. Even the ratings are not as strong right now as they've been. And are those cause for concerns in traditional forms? Yes, you would look at the attendance, which still needs to be addressed, and think, the television is to follow, and think the pay-per-view is to follow. But AEW's been so strong in those two areas. They've held and adapted to the new landscape of pro wrestling, which is built upon television rights, pretty much better than anyone not named WWE. So it's a big win for Tony Khan, a big win for the Elite, a big win for all the wrestlers that have worked really hard to ensure that this thing's going to at least go on another 3 to 4 years. And by that time, you're looking at an even bigger number possibly at the end of that. That's why these people were re-signing for X amount of years. Like Swerve was signing the big deals. Mercedes signed a big deal. Okada signed these multi-year deals. Will Ospreay signed these multi-year deals. Like, this was the dead giveaway. Like, if you think all these people were signing, these deals with nowhere to wrestle at, I don't know, what you were paying attention to. Please do not be consumed with the hate. I would almost welcome some of these people to listen to a show like One Nation Radio, to listen to something like the Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast, Voice of Wrestling Podcast, Trish and Sarah, and be like, all right, man, this is I would welcome you to deal with factual information for once, rather than reading things like WWE press releases touting the amount of minutes that were watched. These are stats we can do nothing with. But this is a massive success, and anyone saying otherwise is not to be listened to. They are to be ignored, and they are to, quite frankly, be mocked. Bring them back to the light. Pull out all your funniest gifs. Pull out all your jokes. Embarrass these folks and let them know intellectually they are not on your level. They're not on your level. They're definitely not on One Nation Radio's level, because we've been telling y'all for ages what was up, what was gonna happen, and it's just it's so sad to see people go out like this. It's I don't want to believe everyone's dumb. These are probably smart people in their day-to-day lives, but just so consumed with seeing people do things another way. Seeing a man of color start this company and just crash out over that. A guy that has been called a nice guy inside of pro wrestling just win like this. It doesn't compute for a lot of people. All these people that are signed to these Legends deals that come out with all this, their radio shows and stuff like that pretty much are PR arms of WWE that throw these arrows and get a lot of people to believe them. And, if you never thought about that, that's definitely a part of the war, the strategy. It's all right, you weaponize, these relationships that you have with people like a Booker T, people like, Busted Open Radio, all those guys who have large listenerships because people believe in their favorite wrestlers. But at the end of the day, those folks are on a mission. They are trying to protect the brand that has them under the Legends contracts and stuff like that. So of course they're not gonna give you, the real. They're not going to cut to the root. They'll come out here and say, yeah, man, we're happy for the business and stuff like that. It's a great day in pro wrestling. No, motherfuckers. It's a great day for AEW. That's who did it. Pro wrestling didn't do this. WWE didn't achieve to allow AEW to achieve. No, this was their accomplishment, and I think it should be called out as such. So, congrats AEW. Keep rolling. Keep making people mad and making them go crazy, and keep changing the world. Don't stop. So moving on, it's good to be elite, moving on. Hiroshi Tanahashi recently announced his upcoming retirement. January 4th, 2026 will be the last match of Hiroshi Tanahashi. I know what the rundown says, guys. I did not skip it. We are taking this in a direction. I'm getting warmed up. So Hiroshi Tanahashi is going to lay it down January 4th, 2026. And when I think about Hiroshi Tanahashi, I flat out think of one of the most gifted, special, awesome professional wrestlers I've ever seen in my life. I was fortunate enough to meet Hiroshi Tanahashi in 2018. And when I talked to him, I was just like, thank you so much for basically all your hard work in saving this promotion to allow everything that I had watched up from that point, to continue to exist, because this promotion, as people say, was on death's door. This was during a time I wasn't actively watching wrestling at all. And I was hearing about Hiroshi Tanahashi and, checked him out. Tanahashi's 6 foot, 6'1". I got a picture with him. But when I hear it's the end of the Ace, right? It makes me so sad. And it makes me think this guy has been beat up, broken down, and kind of wrestled as the broken down guy and would work all of us into, us thinking that he was more hurt than he was a lot of times. And then he eventually started showing his age. He started showing that, he was, struggling physically. And I just always believed in him, his ability to pull out, classics with, and tell stories and draw emotion. This guy is he's one of the best old man wrestlers I've ever seen. He's one of the best prime wrestlers I've ever seen. And he's responsible for so much when you think about it. His resume is filthy. All his Wrestler of the Year awards, matches of the year, everything like that. All that stuff's there. You can look it up. You can check his Cage Match page. It's fucking filthy. I'm not here to talk about that necessarily right now. I'm here to talk about how Hiroshi Tanahashi, how I started watching him after a time where he was number one, but I immediately understood why. He was the guy to pull this thing out of Inokiism. He was the guy that people were jumping promotions to come face, or they were doing interpromotional stuff, and you're going to work with Tanahashi. He's the direct line from Keiji Muto, and he's the tradition. I look at him as just a savior of a company, and somebody that is going to go out in a way that I think there's not going to be a dry in the building, including his, because he loves to cry, and he's going to make us all cry. And he's so beloved. And I remember his challenge for the title to Okada in 2018. I believe this was at Wrestling Dontaku, I believe. And it was Okada's last defense before he fought Kenny Omega at Dominion. I knew Tanahashi didn't have a shot in hell to win. We all knew that. But when he comes out there to defend his defense record, essentially, I think Okada was trying to get to 11. When I see that, it was just this old man full of pride and knowing that he was going to give us his best, and they had a fucking classic. And he lost with one Rainmaker, and it was just you could see the sands of time passing with a lot of the Okada-Tanahashi rivalry, which I kind of have compared to Federer and Nadal. It's this guy Roger Federer. Yeah, Federer and Nadal. It's this guy that's just completely awesome and, the number one guy. And then this young person just drops out of nowhere and starts whooping their ass. And they have just a classic series. I watched all the matches. I've done extensive podcasts about them. And I think what Tanahashi was able to do, looking at Okada and realizing I could act like Keiji Muto and not, put anybody over. I could do all the things that all the wrestlers before me did. I could be like a Noki and not let anybody actually beat me clean. But he went out there and he was like, you know what? let's make some fucking yen. Like, and he just basically like took this guy and shepherded him and allowed Okada to create his main event template inside of Tanahashi's. And Tanahashi just, he would have been awesome anywhere in any era. If he had grown up in Des Moines, Iowa, and decided to be a pro wrestler in the same body he is, Japanese man, his family lived over there, they spoke all Japanese, he wouldn't have needed to speak English to get over in America. This guy, like I love Hiroshi Tanahashi. Like, he's like when I think about, you know, the ace, it'll always be him. And he was there before Okada, he was there during Okada, and he was there after Okada. And he's going to lay it down, and it's going to be one of the biggest things I think New Japan has, you know, at their disposal to move tickets to a dome show. I'm a little shocked they're going to it this early. He must be like ready to lay it down, kind of. But there's a lot of things I think that will be exciting for him coming up. New Japan does retirements really well as compared to, you know, I'm going to talk about Bryan Danielson later, and I got a feeling that Tanahashi is going to be a little bit more fulfilling than his. And then, you know, you think about Cena, he's laying it down kind of at the same time, and there are like a lot of, you know, emotions that go along with like losing those three, you know, wrestlers. I wish we could see a Cena and Tanahashi match. I know we would have to like sell our souls to get it. And I don't know if I would be comfortable with that, but Nith Mang says, who do I think is his final opponent? Man, it would have been so easy to say Okada. Like, maybe you could bring Okada back, but I feel like Okada and him have beaten each other enough. They've done the final match thing. I think you got to, like, I know people are down on him, but you could do nah. His I think Tetsuya Naito should be his final opponent. And if you look at it, Naito is like already, the wheels are coming off of him as well. And I know Naito also got Keiji Muto, and him and Tanahashi have had a great rivalry. Anytime they get in there, they should run it. My other choice would have been Shota Umino. Double retirement match, him and Naito. No, don't do that. But he's going to do some cool things. It's looking like he's going to tag this year at the Dome with Kenny against the Young Bucks. That's an awesome match. You would think he's going to be able to get in there and come to America one last time. Like, I'm sure Tony Khan would love to do something nice for him in AEW. This guy, like, everything that he's going to get, he's earned and then some. Not only did he save New Japan, he's now the president. And he's, you know, a really smart, you know, guy, like, as far as, like, with, you know, knowing, like, what it takes for a pro wrestler to succeed. Like, this guy's so freaking great. Like, I can't believe, like, the you know, it's the end for him. And I saw that announcement today, and it hit me like, damn, like I traveled around the world to watch this guy. I saw him in Madison Square Garden. I saw him in New Orleans. I saw him in a couple of different places. And I was just fortunate to start watching, you know, New Japan Pro Wrestling when I did, to see this 1 in 100 generational talent. And if you've never really watched Hiroshi Tanahashi, or if you're someone that listens to the show, we don't talk about New Japan as often anymore. But at one time, we did a lot. And a lot of that is owed to the work of Hiroshi Tanahashi. He's flat out one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time. Perfect hair, perfect smile. I got a picture with Tanahashi. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's right here. You know, and this was a little bit before the pandemic started. And I yelled out something in Japanese that my boy Zach Porter told me to get his attention. And I had his CD with his high energy, you know, theme song, and he signed it for me. So, you know, there are a few wrestlers that can make you feel like, you know, a little kid, even, you know, as an adult or a grown person. But I think you're going to start seeing just the the outpouring of love and appreciation for Hiroshi Tanahashi that isn't around. He's the last of a dying breed. They're gonna have, there are guys that have spent major parts of their career, Tetsuya Naito, trying to be him. Shota Umino trying to be Tanahashi. Like, this guy's great. They were trying to beat this guy while this guy was an active wrestler. Like, like they didn't even wait for him to retire. We're just gonna start ripping him off now. And it really made that 1 in 100 thing hit a little harder when you realize there was no 2 of 100, 3 of 1. No, once in 100 years. It's the ace. It's Tanahashi. Like, and he was always my guy. Like, between him and Okada, I always loved Tanahashi. Like, I'm gonna be very sad when he goes, but I'm gonna enjoy what he has left to give us. From Hiroshi Tanahashi, one president to another man running another promotion. Paul Levesque, Triple H, this whole thing, this happened a couple weeks ago after WWE Bad Blood. And man, when I start thinking about WWE Bad Blood and thinking about how it was in the town where I live, I'm 30 minutes from the building. And the thought that I would ever show up to that thing, well, I wouldn't show up for obvious reasons, but they entered this place full of black excellence, black culture, just like a haven, a creative metropolis for black folks in this country. Y'all heard the Kendrick Lamar verse. You run to Atlanta when you need a check balance. Like, what I saw from Paul Levesque, and by extension of WWE, was another part of that verse. You are not colleagues, you are colonizers. And I stood on that business and went right to Twitter, along with other smart people like Lyrics Winton, Suit Williams, Jeremy Donovan, Phil Lindsay, Righteous Reg. A lot of people in this, this black wrestling creator game, I'd say. We talked about this. We talked about it before the show. We talked about it leading up with the lineups. We've been looking. It's not hard to tell. I don't normally watch WWE, so I don't watch the week to week television. People try to throw NXT at you. I'm like, come on, man. Not the wrestling school. That's what you bringing to me. Come on, man. We are talking about the men's singles division. The division that drives everything forward. The ones that wrestling companies are built around. Like, I saw so much pandering in this. And when you talk about pandering, what is pandering? I'm going to look that up. I want the dictionary definition of the word pandering. Pandering. To gratify or indulge an immoral or distasteful desire, need, or habit, or with a person with such a desire. What is pandering behavior? To pander, to provide gratifications for others' desires. So, when I saw pandering, what does pandering look like in this case? Pandering is keeping your African American wrestlers unbooked, which has to do with the bucket system and on top of many other things with the 5-match stuff. You add Bianca, Jade, Naomi in as hosts. You throw dopey tag team titles on them to keep them out of the singles division because, one, you have to keep a handcuff anchor on Jade Cargill, and you have to move Bianca Belair out the way to do it. I talked on Twitter about the Bianca Belair conversation that nobody wants to have. Why don't we bust it open real quick? Bianca Belair is quite literally one of the 3 to 5 best stadium wrestlers in WWE. She went from, main eventing a WrestleMania, stick with me, winning that women's title, holding it for, a year, and, being this top star, largely promoted like as a John Cena-like figure for women. And, you look at her, incredible power, incredible look, incredible work, and going through and being that person, the first to really nudge past the four horsewomen, to go face to face with Becky Lynch, with Bayley, with Mercedes. And she was the one going over in a lot of these cases. Her contemporary is Rhea Ripley, kind of, right? And you look at the way Vince McMahon pushed her, which is incredible, by the way, that out of Vince McMahon and Paul Levesque, Vince McMahon was the one to see the value in Bianca Belair, whatever value, whatever twisted way he may have seen it. It was seen. The things that Cody Rhodes is doing and getting credit for, of having the blackest entrance ever, Jeff Johnson. Bianca Belair did that 2 years ago at WrestleMania with Texas Southern in a way bigger, more grand fashion. I saw so many awful tweets of this being the blackest show ever, with no black wrestlers wrestling. Think about that. What would make you throw your behind in the air and twerk it up for WWE like this? What would make you do it? Is it access? Is it Twitter clout? When you look at your black skin and be like, yeah, that really made me feel good and represented. Are you serious? Then we get to Triple H. Never mind them bringing in Lil Baby, Metro, Yachty, Killer Mike. People as far as I can see, like rappers everywhere, just more rappers than wrestlers, cutting checks. And these are not appearances that are just off the love. This isn't them coming in like how Jim Jones came into AEW and was like, I'm gonna do this off the love because I fucks with Swerve and I worked out with him in the gym and I'm coming in for the free, essentially. And Jim's coming in for the look. And then it's crossing over with what Jim got going on. This is not that. What's happening in WWE is what's happened since the beginning of time, especially in the hip-hop industry. I don't know if those of you, know what a walkthrough is. Rest in peace, Rich Homie Quan. He had a song called Walkthrough. I be feeling like the man when I walk through. I ain't hearing what you're saying when I walk through. And the whole thing was a concept of rappers showing up places and getting a walkthrough fee. That's what this was. Lil Baby get the walkthrough fee. Yachty gets the walkthrough fee. Metro gets the walkthrough fee. Future gets the song placement there that they got to pay the sync licensing for. And what happens there is like, oh, you're willing to pay for the cultural exchange. You'll pay for it somehow. But it's like, what about paying the people that are going to be there every day and spotlighting them so you don't have to do such things like that? It would be easy to do that, right? Oh, unless, you had this arbitrary 5-match thing. Or, hey, if you just don't want to book black guys on pay-per-view, and it's not like I'm just sitting here just counting the Negroes. It's just like, all right, when's the last time this happened? If you ask one question, they can just trip them up. And with Paul Levesque, he hates getting just one question. We saw him at the Royal Rumble. We saw how he reacted to that. He didn't read the lawsuit. We saw how he reacted to the French kid over when he was asked about, I believe, Drew Gulak. One single question can ruin this guy. And the question this time was asked about the lack of representation of black male wrestlers. So when he asked how he makes sure there's representation, but also everyone gets the opportunity they deserve, this was his response. He said, "I don't see the difference in anybody. I don't see the color. I don't see the nationality. I don't see any of it. I just see talent. I don't see the difference between men and women. I see talent. We tell stories with those talent, how they can handle those stories and how they can represent those stories and how we can bring those stories forward. I don't keep track of any of that. I do what's relevant and what's best, the best in storytelling and what's being delivered the best, and then that's what goes. No different than the men and women who main events. Whatever the biggest stories are, that's where we go." Let's say I take him at face value. The quote is even worse if we don't think about it. If it's like, oh yeah, Triple H, he believes the best people are, on these shows. So they haven't made any mistakes over the past year. This is exactly how they intended it to be presented. Baffling that he would say, "I don't see color" in 2024. There are a million ways he could have answered that. He could have talked about what he is doing with, black wrestlers. He could talk about valuing black wrestlers. But what he did is gave an answer that a lot of dummies will line up in comment sections. And when this gets clipped, I'm sure someone inevitably will be in the comment section to say this very thing. Like, well, that's fairness, right? Like you just want something because you're black. And it's like, no, like that's not that's not it. Like what is happening is something is being pointed out that it's a lack of. And he's telling us that not only is he not making that mistake, he's running everything above board on the up and up. Like, we can go into Triple H's history. You guys know, the blackface. You guys know the Nazi symbolism. You guys know how Triple H gets down, the Bumblebee stuff. Like, you can hold up, like, if I want to, like, pull a book out and rip a page out and write all on it and hold it up here, I could fill it with the racial, the weird racial things with Paul Levesque. But I hear this and I'm just shocked that A, people want to defend this, and B, he thinks this is like something he can just say that is just going to slide and no one's going to talk about it. And I don't believe I face the level of abuse on Twitter than anything more than this, calling this out. Not tweeting about politics, not tweeting about important issues or anything. I'm out here getting called the ER for simply saying things like, well, this is sound the alarm. All black people kind of almost know what this means. Almost all black people know what this means. And I threw that almost in there, and man, did they just come flying from around the corner. Suckers and bums like Julian Weeks, the used car salesman with the weird hairline, dancing and shucking for Triple H at every chance he gets. It's weird. Like, it's very weird the way that people have, put their backsides in the air for Paul Levesque. Because he makes the wrestling for the wrestling company that you love. This isn't about who I'm a fan of. These are his words. People are more upset at me for holding up the mirror than they are for Paul Levesque for saying them. What does that say about you? Like, it is like, all right, man, like, we know what it is. You don't have to lie. And maybe I should give Paul Levesque credit. Maybe he was giving us a rare moment of honesty in the professional wrestling business. Maybe this was a window into his heart, into his soul, into how he looks at someone like Bianca Belair and then decides, that skill set, got no use for that. You know, I can have her carry around Jade and have 2-minute matches because we took Jade from AEW and we really don't have a plan for her. And we're going to try to fast track her, but we don't really care about her either. We just want to, you know, hold her up as an example of the failures of AEW. You look at Montez Ford, Angelo Dawkins, see him working hard for years and years. And man, I don't see any difference between them and Karrion Kross. It's all the same, except Karrion Kross just keeps getting opportunities. Getting the girl, another manager, and a tag team in his unit. We can see where the resources go and where they do not go. And by telling us he sees no difference, either he is stupid or he's something else. I'll let you tell it. Like, the thing is, like, Cody Rhodes, the guy that main evented the show, and Cody's got his own issues and stuff we talked about on this show extensively. He gave the blueprint for this very question 5 years ago when he was in AEW. Mark Henry asked him, of all people, you know, about diversity within AEW. And then he gave the example. He brought it up himself. You know, he said he once told his wife, Brandy, he doesn't see color. And Brandy corrected him and said, hey, if you don't see color, you don't see my experience. So when Triple H says he doesn't see color, he doesn't see why Kofi Mania resonated with so many people. He doesn't see why Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks at WrestleMania, I believe 37, was so important to people. And if you can't see what means things to people, how good of a booker are you? If you can't understand the specialness of that, and this question also doubles back to those various lames and grifters who I'm sure were very happy at something like Kofi Mania. We're very happy to see the Hurt Business come to prominence, who no longer are in the promotion. If those things meant something to you, this can't not mean something to you. It's that simple. You know, it's really interesting, man. And, you know, Triple H almost is not the exact person I want to hear from on this. We'll take him because he gets so defensive about these things. He opens up the window a little bit. But I want to talk to other people on the board. I want to know what Nick Khan has something to say about this. I want to know what Dwayne Johnson has to say about this. And Dwayne came out at the end, The Rock, the final boss, and all this at the end of the show, did his stare down and went to the back. He didn't have to answer any of those questions. And, you know, Nick Khan's a smooth character. I don't think he would make that mistake in public. The Rock has been on a lot of different platforms, such as like the Pivot, and, you know, The Rock kind of has a lot of like panache, so to say. It would be interesting just to see what they'd say, though. Triple H is just like, he's somebody that's been locked in wrestling for the last 30 years. Like, so he is kind of who he is too. So, I heard that stuff and I wasn't surprised. I wasn't disappointed. I know exactly how Paul Levesque operates. I've known people like Paul Levesque my entire life. And I think if you're a wrestler in WWE, a black wrestler in WWE, it's almost like it's not new for them either. I'm sure they've all known a Paul Levesque where it's like, well, I kind of really, I know what this person thinks of me, but I'm going to just try to hold my head and do my best. And unfortunately, like, doing your best in your unique way that you offer, he doesn't see any difference. Why? Why do I know that? Because he told us that himself. Well, last thing on deck to talk about tonight is WrestleDream. So WrestleDream, overall, really great show in a vacuum. You lay everything out on paper. I'm pulling up the card right now. And never have I really watched a show where I liked all the matches so much, but then the more I started thinking about these things, I just kept finding these little warts that for me were like, I can't ignore this. I'm grumpy. And I'm just looking up and down this thing, and it's like these wrestlers showed up and worked their asses off. They worked very hard, a lot of great matches, and then I was just like, I hate either how this match arose or what it did to someone that is coming out of this match, or it was just like, I don't get it. I'm not feeling it. So let's start with we'll start with Jay White and Hangman Page. I saw people going out of their goddamn minds for this match, that they were acting like they saw a match of the year candidate. I'm here to pump the brakes on that. This was a really good match. I would give this like 4 stars and call it a day and never think about it again. But I guess Jay White got a win, and you know how the Jay White folks get. They get a little excited and start going crazy. So I'll let them live with that. But then I'm like, all right. I saw Hangman Page losing clean. I was like, well, what are we doing? Like, if it was like, yeah, man, between Jay White and Hangman Page, who do we need to push? I think Jay White has constantly demonstrated himself not to be on Hangman Page's level. So for me, this looked like a Jay White rehab job. But when I look at Hangman Page coming out of this, everything is just being explained away with he's crazy. Like, and that's just like his out for losing these matches. But the last pay-per-view, AEW All Out, he won perhaps one of the biggest matches in AEW history. And like, he just like, he finally beat Swerve. Cage match, just incredible ending. And that was like, basically like, He did everything he did in the cage, but the one thing that got everybody so sucked into this guy was he took a couple steps towards the ring where he was like, he was going back for more, and we heard that big gasp. AEW did not protect this. AEW did not build upon this. We went to the next Dynamite. That show opened up with Christian Cage and Jon Moxley, and then Hangman Page was stuck in a hallway. He was then subjected to country whipping matches with Jeff Jarrett weeks later on Collision. He then had to deal with a goof from Juice, he had to deal with a goof like Juice Robinson after that. And then he's losing in the opener clean after that pay-per-view. So it's like, do I invest in these things? I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to invest in these things because it's like, all right, well, I thought they were going somewhere with this guy. Oh, no? He's just going to end up as a gatekeeper? Wouldn't be in my company, but I don't run the company. I didn't like, the booking decision. I did enjoy the match. I thought, these guys have had a lot. They're career rivals, so they'll lean on, that, and maybe we get another match. Maybe we don't. Who knows? But I thought it was very puzzling, especially to, come off of that important special match that I guess didn't lead anywhere. If you look at, how Hangman Page came back over the summer with a brand new awesome character, had to lay it down to Bryan Danielson in the tournament, and then basically get told, you don't have to main event Wembley Stadium. You can main event the arena. Oh, you don't need to win the tournament. You can just put over Bryan Danielson. You don't need to win the championship. You can just fight Jeff Jarrett. You don't need to, be gone with as a main eventer after this incredible work where you come out during the All-In main event and the crowd goes insane. Nah. Like, let's call it what it is. Like, and I guess I'll rope this back into the main event review. Like, people just got worked by Bryan Danielson into wanting one final countdown. And this guy had to get pushed out the way for it. Like, there was two sides to this thing. This was the Swerve and Hangman thing and the road to Danielson and Moxley. Because I got news for everybody. All this stuff decided in advance. They knew where they were going all the way back in the summer. Like, this was the direction that they picked. So, now I see where, where Hangman is, and I'm just like, he has to rebuild and start over again. And at this point, like, Paige has never been a guy that I was like some like do or die person with, like, like Kenny Omega or something, where I'm just like, all right, man, what the fuck? But this summer, it told me a lot. It told me a lot about how Hangman Page might be looked at, from the big seat. Like, maybe there's value in him being, a kingmaker, so to say, which is really just a nice way to say we're never actually going with you again, because you were partly responsible for my favorite wrestler no longer being here. I don't know, man. Like, it's it's interesting, man. And if you're a Hangman fan, my heart's out to you. So we'll go into the AEW World Title match. Jon Moxley versus Bryan Danielson. Great match. Like, I was really into the match that they had. And I thought that this was like a very unique kind of style. It was better than Mox's match with Darby that he had. And they had, Final Countdown playing like New Jack. They did a lot of brawling. It was a very tough match. And Moxley chokes him out, beats him essentially clean. No problem with that. And, they do the angle after the match where, they're whooping his ass even more. And then, it's very dark. Like, people are like depressed and kind of sad about this. Like, I don't have a problem with how they did the finish. I don't have a problem with the match or the decision or anything. The thing that I didn't like, and then I was like, fuck this, was Wheeler Yuta. So maybe it was my own headcanon, which what I thought made sense would be, he didn't turn on this guy initially. Plus, we'll also go back. They did not, they choked the guy out last month, so them doing it again, that didn't really bother me. But I thought Wheeler Yuta was like the easy answer, like, all right, I'm going to try to avenge my master, Danielson. But he does all this, turns, joins, the Moxley group, and it's like, oh, great. So this guy is still fourth in his unit 2.5 years later. Nothing's happening. He's just going to be an underling pin eater. Nothing's happening. He's not going forward. Not only is he not going forward, he's arguably going backward now because now he's going to have to get pinned a lot more. I saw that and I was like, yeah, man. Like, it was like, I saw that and I was like, yeah, man, I'm out on this simply because of Wheeler Yuta thing. And I was like, this thing is just like, it's just another group. Like, I thought the easy Avenge My Master thing would have been he could either won or lost, but it's like it's some kind of change like within him. Instead, he's still in the same position in the hierarchy. He's not going to break out and be his own guy or anything like that. He chokes out Danielson, blah, blah, blah. All the folks assemble, and you got various people like Adam Cole showing up, Darby Allin, who seemingly, you know, the one that's going to get the focus on this, but even in Darby Allin, it's like, how can you believe anything's going to pay off for anyone? I'm already like reeling off this Hangman thing, right? To where it's like, you thought he was going up somewhere. He is not. He was going nowhere. He was going to get country whooped by Jeff Jarrett. They did the direct linear loss of Darby Allin to Jon Moxley to take his title match, but did so in perhaps one of the most embarrassing ways possible for a babyface. Like, he just looked dumb. He looked like Sting's true successor. Like, he inherited the intelligence from Sting. And this guy, Darby Allin, has been beaten so much to the point where he had not won a singles match on pay-per-view since 2020 before the match with Brody King, you know, a guy that they rarely book. So how Darby Allin is just the automatic answer to this. Maybe he is. Maybe he's not. At this point, I don't know how anyone could just be sure of these things. Like, it's not. It does not seem as like cut and dry. Like, but a lot of people were encouraged with the angle and all that. I have the Wheeler Yuta part is the part I don't like of it, and I admit that's like kind of a smaller, that's a me thing and all that. But people are into this, and you know, these matches, we'll see how they look with Jon Moxley without Danielson in them. You know, I think that's fair to say. I don't think Mox has redeemed himself all the way from those performances that he did on pay-per-view earlier this year. But he's refreshed. He's got a new character. And, you know, he got the belt however he got it. You know, some conversation was had in the back room. This is what Danielson wanted to do. And so it all set up to him. Like, so when I look at Danielson, for me, this left a lot to be desired. This guy's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, and he's had some of the just best performances he's ever had within these last 12 months. And Jesse Collins wrote a great column about the unevenness of Danielson. And, you know, I tried to express a lot of that on this show over the summer, even to, you know, my co-host dismay at times, where it's just like, but it's Bryan Danielson. Like, that's been like the default kind of what's up, Mora? It's kind of been like the default response from various forums I've been in, but it's Bryan Danielson. I'm like, well, if it's Bryan Danielson, I would expect one of the most inspirational babyfaces to be an inspirational babyface, to be someone that puts in his half on, you know, these programs or anything like that. An injury won't stop him from showing up to the building to put his half in on a lot of these programs. Like, it felt very microwaved and kind of unearned. It felt like the time for Danielson to actually be the champion was either like a year ago, a year and a half ago, something like that, where they could have used it. And then what happened here is like the decision to go with him just blasted through everything that I think the title like had kind of been building for with Swerve and everything like that. Like, it's like, all right, we cut everyone off for the final countdown and all that, and what were we left with? It all led to Jon Moxley now. Someone who's now a 4-time champion. And then it's like, all right, you're feeding the transitive logic. Like, transitive logic doesn't always like hold up because of injuries, because it's like, you know, the way the crowd changes. You know, you never know who's going to be over, who's not. So they've got a plan, I'd imagine. But if, you know, as far as it is for us to say, to point out and be like, yes, Darby Allin is the guy. I don't know how you can sit here and do that and not feel like, you know, oh, Like it's 100% for sure going to happen. Like especially the way this company has been booked. Like, so I don't know, man. The Danielson stuff left me kind of, like, yeah, I like the matches when they come, but like the television that's going into them, I'm not feeling it. I'm feeling like other people are getting cut off left and right to be at service of this final countdown tour. And this guy's great. He's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Deserves it, earned it. It just seemed like it came at a inopportune time, I'd say, and then it culminated in not a new star, not someone that could have, the whole Darby and Danielson match. I thought it was like, yeah, man, I thought that was going to be, something cool, but it went another way. So we'll see how it goes. But ROH World Title match, Mark Briscoe versus Chris Jericho. Boy. A bad night for the non-believers of Chris Jericho. It's amazing when he's not in there with Hook. I thought Mark Briscoe was so great in this match. I thought he was really someone that I would like to push towards the, getting a shot at Moxley. I think, if Moxley's going to work this style, someone that can go right in there with him is a Mark Briscoe. Just incredible babyface fire. Can move, can take the punishment, can get the crowd into him. Like I thought this match was a blast. And at least for one night, my dog Jericho, kept the people off him a little bit. People are always going to lie about Jericho or whatever. But, Jericho basically tells him, yeah, man, your brother's dead. Holla. And what does Jericho do again? That goddamn Chris Jericho. He puts his shoulders clean on the mat for somebody else. Damn him. Maybe, just maybe, Jericho can start winning again. World Tag Team title match. Young Bucks beat Private Party. This is another match where I was like, what happens to the person coming in and going out of this match? They tried to microwave Private Party as a challenger. They tried to microwave them as like a legit threat to win the titles. A lot of this got started too late. They were already fed to the Blackpool Combat Club, and then it was like a switch was like turned on them, and I'm like, it made me question whether like the people writing the show actually watched the show to see what people think of Private Party right now. They just got, their shit kicked in essentially by the new BCC, and then had to turn around and were like, you know what? We going for the Elite. And then they win that number one contenders match, and we're supposed to just show up and be like, oh, it's Private Party's time. Like, I don't think it was that. And I think they had a really good match, actually. I was into the match, and I would have went for a switch, just to do something different or whatever. But what messed all this up was this promo that Matt Jackson cut before the match, where he's like, yeah, man, you guys are nothing but mid-carders. Like, you'll never be anything. You haven't done anything for 5 years, blah, blah, blah. It's like, when you run babyfaces down with the truth, people might believe you. And what did they do? They proved themselves right. They just beat these guys, and then it's like they tried to show them like, yeah, man, like give them the cheer, the claps on the way out. But it was like, nah, man, we saw what you think of them. And this goes back again. It's like, how many people have to lose a match to then like come back on the other side to like win it? Like a title or anything in this company. It's like you're doing the same story with all these people. Can we just have some people whoop some ass? Some good guys just whoop some ass. How about that? Would that be so hard to do? So many stories like this. Like, yeah, man, I lost to this person. They whooped my ass. Now I got to find my way to get back to them. It's like, all right, that's a simple story in a vacuum, right? But it's like, when everyone's doing it, it's just like, it's so overpowering on the heel side. You guys have all seen the graphics and the list of every champion being a heel in this promotion. This is not the first time that happened. This also happened in 2021 when I believe Kenny had the belt. It was like Miro and the Bucks and stuff like that. So like there are just more titles now. So it's I would say it's more obvious. But the Bucks rolled on, and they got announced. Essentially, they said they were going to the Tokyo Dome for Wrestle Dynasty, so they're probably going to bring those belts in there and have a title match. And cool for them to return to Japan, probably in a higher position than they've ever been over there. So, shouts out to them. Darby Allin versus Brody King. Now, this was a great big and little man match. We already knew this would be crazy. These guys would beat the hell out of each other in regular matches. I believe they had a coffin match once. There was a battle royal with these guys where, Brody King hung this guy. This was physical. This was like just a roughhouse match. Like is the best way I can describe it. And it was good to see Brody King get a chance because it's good to see different people. Like this roster is so deep. You rarely see a guy like Brody King in a singles match. What is this? Fourth from the top. And it's like, give guys like this, a chance that'll do something for you. And, it's not like Malachi Black was going to come volunteer to lay down for Darby Allin. So Brody King's the next best choice right there. This is really great as well. And Darby got the big win. There's a 2 out of 3 falls match. Hologram versus Beast Mortos. Unlocked from the Collision Island is Hologram and the Beast Mortos, and I think the crowd kind of like holograms like people just don't watch on the weekend, so they don't like understand hologram and all that. But I think the crowd slowly got into this thing, and they were kind of fascinated by what they were seeing. Mortos he's so phenomenal. He moves so well for his size. He's going to become a cult favorite, I think, in this company. And it's going to be like, yo, put Mortos in the C2 because he's going to have like 6 or 7 great matches. Put him in there with anybody, and it'll be awesome. This one, was a 2 out of 3 falls, like kind of match that was kind of in service of their Fox Mexico deal. So, the 2 out of 3 falls kind of comes out of nowhere and, kind of quick falls there. And Mortos ended up losing to Hologram, 2-1 and all that. And Hologram keeps his undefeated streak. I think Hologram, they gotta like they're starting to put something together with him as far as everything. I think they do have to invest more in the gear, more in the enhancing the mask because he does look a little generic in my view with the H and stuff like that. But spend some dough. Get this man some sequin stuff. Like, Phoenix still under contract. Ask him, who the plug is. Let's get this guy some real shit. So, let's see. International 3-way match. Konosuke Takeshita versus Will Ospreay versus Ricochet. 5 stars. Just one of the most amazing moves matches you'll see. ROPW at its finest. I loved all the intricate 3-person sequences that would come out of this. This was like, no matter what happened, the crowd was just into Takeshita. They've really wanted this man to win badly, even though he's a heel. Doesn't matter. It was like, yeah, man. Ricochet finally dished the baggy pants. Came out with kind of a new set and all that. So I don't know if he was listening to O&R or what. But this is his best night in the promotion. Ospreay is just an inhumane individual that makes people look crazy whenever they talk down about him. And, Takeshi's the perfect guy to be in this thing. A lot of people were comparing this, saying this is going to be the best, 3-way since, TNA in 2005. And I think there's been a lot of good 3-ways that people just don't seem to remember. There was a great 3-way this year on pay-per-view with AEW with Swerve and Hangman and Joe, but this one was so fast, the pace and the crowd was just living and dying with everything. This basically broke down into Don Callis basically screwing Will Ospreay, and then Kyle Fletcher coming out and turning on Will Ospreay officially. So that's going to seemingly split Ospreay off into a feud with Fletcher. Konosuke Takeshita finally is strapped up. Doesn't really win on his own volition there. It's kind of due to, the cheating and the Fletcher thing. The story coming out of this is Ospreay still with Fletcher. I don't know what Takeshita will do from here, but Ricochet was like power bombed, I believe, through a table by Takeshita. I think he gave him the Blue Thunder Bomb or something through the table. Clean break. I would have liked a clean win, but they had to do whatever they had to do here. And go to Konosuke Takeshita and Ricochet next. Why not? But yeah, one of the best matches of the year. And this guy Takeshita fucking rules. And it's about time he's been strapped up. It's only been a year plus since he beat Kenny Omega clean twice. So, Jack Perry versus Katsuyori Shibata. My man Jack Perry had to let Shibata know who the real ruffian is. Had to let Shibata know that when he steps in the ring with the scapegoat, it is not a game. When he goes face to face with the scapegoat and raises his hand for a chop or something, he better come correct, because the scapegoat eats those shits for lunch, breakfast, and dinner. He thought it was a game. He could just put my man Scapegoat in a hold, and Scapegoat wouldn't have, the wrestling acumen to out wrestle the wrestler. And, well, man, Scapegoat emerged with the championship. So, there's something about that submission move, that sleeper hold. When people put it on, they just forget all sense of where they are. Used to happen to Shayna Baszler a lot. But my man Jack Perry with the bridge got the count on. This led to a lot of returns, to say the least. This led to Daniel Garcia coming out after, trying, saving, basically as he was going to challenge Perry. Perry, kind of caught him with the belt. This led to MJF coming out. This led to, doing a beatdown, and then led to Adam Cole coming back. So there was just on top of just thing after thing after thing. And it was just so much. And I was like, oh my God. I saw MJF and Adam Cole, and I wanted them quarantined from the rest of the roster. I don't want anybody getting infected by them. But it was yeah, dog, there were so many, I don't know if they're going to do a three-way, maybe some type of tag thing with that. They can team up MJF and Perry with Garcia and Shibata. Or if Cole's involved, you can sub him in as well. I don't know, man. There seems to be a lot of guys for a lot of spots. So somebody's got to start getting pushed here. But we also did get the return of Swerve Strickland on this show. In his hometown, Tacoma, Washington. Big reaction for him. Huge pyro and new kind of entrance for him. Looked like one of the biggest stars in the world when he came out. He basically went through a promo talking about his past, present, and future. What was he going to address? And he was, talking with Prince Nana. And this led to MVP coming out with Shelton Benjamin. And it was they were going face to face. They cut a great promo against each other. Went down memory lane, talked about them facing each other, some of the advice that, MVP had, laid upon Swerve. He is kind of a mentor to him. And the whole segment, with this thing, Swerve had a lot, to do. He had to kind of reintroduce himself. He had to create doubt. He also had to nail the line where basically essentially be yeah, man, that's all cool, but I'm standing with Nana. And the line he used was I don't turn my back on family, and you believed it. And this led to kind of a square off with Shelton Benjamin. I think a lot of people were waiting for Bobby Lashley to show up as well, but just as we went through all those returns and re-debuts and all the angles and everything like that, it was it just seems like it would have been overload. So I would look out for that in the near future for Bobby Lashley, because I think it's kind of obvious, but they're setting up Shelton as he was basically being told by Swerve, like, yo, you were this guy that I looked up to. You were somebody that a lot of black wrestlers looked at like as the real deal. So there's going to be a big Shelton Benjamin kind of rebrand, I would imagine, coming soon, because for so long he was used in a certain role. And I don't know what Shelton has left. Like, he's going to, have to show us all. But this guy's always, kept himself in great shape. He was, an awesome wrestler, coming up. But this is not going to be the gold standard. This is not going to be the guy in the Kurt Angle get up. Like, this is not going to be the blonde hair. Like, I think we got to let this guy be who he's going to be in 2024. And see if he has a place within the ecosystem, and if he's a heavy in the group, if he's somebody to get ran through before the main person in the faction, maybe that's where he is. But I'm willing to see it. He's got a match announced with Leo Rush on Wednesday, so we will see where Shelton Benjamin is in the ring, and I would presume we're probably going to see Swerve and Shelton Benjamin before we see Swerve and anyone else. So. Funny comment, Seth Rich Rogan, more black people on stage at any point on Bad Blood. Dr. Lear says that promo is why Swerve should be the man and should beat Mox. Brewhaven says Triple H had heart palpitations when this happened. But yeah, I think this segment went over really well. A lot of people were happy to see Swerve back, and I don't know how soon he's going to get back in the mix. He did say it was cleared. So, cool. Mariah May and Willow Nightingale. Willow Nightingale, another person who seemingly has future world champion written all over her, but not today. This match was awesome, though. These two have great chemistry going back to the tournament final earlier this year of the Owen Hart Classic. And this is important for Mariah to get a lot of people off her back. But it seems like she's holding this belt until Australia. Like, that's what it seems like. So it was kind of discouraging to see Will Nightingale have to do another JOB, just like she did the JOB on pay-per-view last month. So it was like, we start talking about this booking. She lost on pay-per-view. Like, how does she go forward from here and just lose her way into this? So, like, if it was me, I would have just strapped up Willow and ripped the plans up, but they're committed to this stuff. So it is what it is. I think Willow's been the best women's wrestler in this country this year. And I think that they gotta do something with her. Like, they gotta pick a date and be like, yo, they gotta figure it out, and she needs to beat whoever. Like it seems like Mercedes is her long-term arc. I don't know how you get the belt on Mercedes, like the women's world title, but it seems, I think, if, like, how do I say this? Like, she's another person that's a babyface in this company that has just been beat so much that it's like, all right, man, when are you going to fucking do it? Like, when are you going to do it? Like, and let's get it cracking. What are we waiting for? Jay White versus Christian just booked for Dynamite, I was told. Oh, it's going to be just all the counters in the world. Just everyone just have fun. I can just see it now. Christian going for that the kill switch, and then Jay White grabbing him and putting him in the Sister Abigail position, and then reversing and switching back into it. I can just see it now. Just swing dancing, essentially. Dr. Leary is saying that's funny. Yeah, so nice professional match. And yeah, we talked about White and Page, but overall, I liked the show. I liked the wrestling, but I thought about a lot of the booking, and I was just like, I don't like how these people came into this match, and I don't like how they're leaving it. And a lot of the Danielson stuff, it fell flat for me, just because, like, even still, he's not retiring. Like, I don't know who needs to hear this. He's wrestling again somewhere. And he's going away. He's got to get neck surgery. He's not under contract. Hasn't been under contract. Why won't he sign a contract? Just something to remember. Just something to think about. Usually if someone doesn't want to sign a contract, it's for a reason. So, yeah. So that being said, make sure that you check out the rest of the shows on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. My name is Rich Latta. I hope you guys enjoyed this show this evening with just me. My voice is, I'm going to need to grab some water. I talk straight through this. So hope you guys had fun. I'm going to clip this up and everything. Visit Chop-Tees to get your One Nation Radio shirts. The Dream Team designs are out. We got the gray and orange. We got the black conspiracy theory one. I think that is pretty cool too. We got hats. We got all that stuff. So make sure you subscribe to the Social Suplex YouTube. My personal YouTube channel is actually officially monetized now. Been talking a lot about the WNBA on there of late and doing a lot of reaction videos, and it has allowed me to kind of break into like a new tier on YouTube. So if you are someone that subscribes to me over there, I appreciate it as well. And probably going to be talking more about the WNBA finals over there and all that. But appreciate you guys watching on the stream and listening on your podcast. Share it. And we'll be back next week. Hopefully, James will be ready to go then. If not, we'll be here. So check out all the other shows. I'm also on Trish and Sarah tomorrow. And enjoy. I'll holla at y'all. Peace.
Election Day is Tuesday, November 5th. Now is the time to make a plan. Whether you plan to vote absentee by mail, in person at your county auditor's office before Election Day, or at your polling place on November 5th, it's important you take steps now to make your plan at voterready.iowa.gov. Remember, Election Day is Tuesday, November 5th. Find more info at voterready.iowa.gov. This message is presented by the Iowa Secretary of State.
Most tax pros leave a message.
It's Jane. I'm moving on to a TurboTax expert who beat your price. Adam Devine, tell him how I feel.
Hey, tax pro, she's been thinking twice. Best believe TurboTax will beat your price. This is a tax break.
Switch to a TurboTax Live expert and we'll beat what you paid your pro last tax season. Make the switch at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice. TurboTax full service only. Sign up by 12/20/2024 and file by 4/1/2025. Full details at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice.